Best of luck.
Take care. That's Mark Anderson there from Arklow United Football Club, and they've got a partnership with Glasgow Celtic, and what a win for Celtic last night. John Hannigan is here, CEO of Sunbeam House. You were watching that, were you?
I watched the end of it, yeah. I don't think anybody could take their eyes off it. Very exciting finish. Nerve-wracking for all the Celtic fans. So, yeah, good match.
Yeah, a great atmosphere,
great
by the looks of it.
Fantastic.
Anyway, this particular story, you were in with us last week. We also had Deputy Simon Harris on the line at the time, reassuring John Hannigan from Sunbeam's House Services that maybe things could turn around. A lot of publicity this week on cutbacks to the disability sector, focusing a lot on St Michael's House, but of course we don't want to forget your difficulties too, John. Yeah. So can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, certainly, Declan. Unfortunately, things haven't changed. If anything, things are getting a little deeper and a little bit more mysterious in terms of what's going on around the country. Part of also the national body that is an umbrella for all of the disability service providers, intellectual disability providers in the country. And what we're seeing is a very mixed picture right across the country. For example, in the West, there have been informal talks with the HSE about potential cuts. In the South, they haven't heard anything in terms of any potential cuts at all. It's only in Dublin Mid Leinster and Dublin North East that we're actually where cuts have been made, and the cuts that have been made still are in place. We've had no formal feedback, no formal response from the HSE to any of the correspondence that we've sent them asking for explanations. And we are still awaiting to see if anything will come out of this from a political perspective. Deputy Harris was on last week with us. I've now spoken to all the other deputies within the county. They've reassured me that they are not supporting what's happened. They can't understand how this has happened or how these figures have been conjured out of thin air. And they are questioning the HSE as to why these particular cuts have been levied in the way that they have. The unfortunate reality is that it's now beginning to hit on families, and you will have heard over the course of the week, I'm sure, some of the stories that have come out of St Michael's, but also out of Sunbeam House Services, and the impact that it's having on the day-to-day lives of the people we support and their families. And I think that's the critical thing. Historically and up to now, the cuts we've been able to absorb through staff goodwill, through staff going the extra mile and giving the extra commitment that they've always given, but just that little bit extra again. But now, because of these cuts, we're impacting on families' lives, and we're impacting on families' jobs in particular cases as well, where they're having to reorganise their family finances and also their family lifestyle in order to be able to continue with the transport of their individual in and out of our services.
So basically you're waiting on, it sounds to me you're waiting on a clarification to see how bad this is going to be long term, with the hope in the short term that some of the cuts that have happened are going to be reversed.
Yeah, it's hard to say where this is going. At this point in time, in Dublin North East, and again in some of the reports that we heard yesterday on the radio, but also in the papers, that the figures that St Michael's were given are now allegedly indicative potential cuts, not finalised and certainly not taken out of the budget, but that they are working towards. They've taken some extreme action in terms of shutting services and laying people off. We haven't gone that route. We've decided not to lay people off and to keep the services running as unaffected as possible on the front line. But we have no idea if these are going to be reversed. We have had no communication. We've had no feedback from the HSE in terms of whether our cuts are indicative or not, given that it's already come out of our budget. So we are still waiting, and the silence is deafening at this point in time. And my concern is that the longer it's deafening, the harder these are going to bite into the services we provide.
And somebody was telling me recently that if you lose a person, right, because you can't afford to pay them, it might be just seen from the outside, oh, they've one person less, there's none muck in or one around. But that person was providing a lot of one-to-one stuff right across the day, right across the week to people who were depending on that. So you're affecting the people that they were helping.
Completely and absolutely. It doesn't, and it may not seem like an awful lot. And if you'd gone back 5 or 6 years, we'd have said losing one person probably wouldn't have affected the organisation. But in that time, we've lost 19 people who were providing direct services, direct support to people who have disabilities to help them live their life, go about their daily routines, go and be involved in the community in the way they should be, and also be involved in things like their jobs. So we've already lost 19 people. For us to lose one more person would mean that people would start to lose their services because we can't support them. We can't support them from a health and safety perspective. We can't support them from a person's quality of life perspective. And what we try and achieve within Sunbeam is that independence within the community as far as possible, and that means having people there to support the individual with intellectual disability in the community. And to lose one person now would mean potentially 3 or 4 people losing that opportunity to participate in the community.
So we're still waiting and seeing.
We're still waiting and seeing. In fairness to the TDs, they've all been very supportive of the cry for information, but also to have these cuts unwound. We have to wait and see how long that'll take, or if we'll be successful at all. And as I said previously, my next concern, or the concern related to this, is what happens in October when they announce the budget. This is effectively a 3% cut for next year already, if this were to continue. What happens next year? We already know that 3.1 billion has to come out of the economy. The HSE is one of the biggest spenders, so there are probably likely to be further cuts to the HSE.
All right, keep in contact, John. Thank you very much.
Will. Thank you, Declan.
That's John Hannigan, CEO of Sunbeam House Services on the eastern side of the county.
The Morning Show.